Welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about Klara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. This is a really cool sci-fi, fantastical sci-fi I'd almost say. It's a novel, it's a little on the short side, about 300 pages, and it follows Klara, our protagonist, who is a AF, or an artificial friend. Now, I'm going to give just a little bit of a quick plot synopsis. No spoilers, but just kind of the setup into the book so you know what's going on. I'm going to talk a little bit about the characters, character work, and then a little bit on writing style, positives, negatives, and then we'll kind of wrap this up with a star rating. And one note that I would like to start with, I don't really review books in comparison to other books. I review each book in comparison to, or based upon what I think that the author was trying to achieve with this, and how closely they got to that vision. So, first off, let's talk a little bit about the plot. So, yes, we follow Klara, who's an artificial friend. This is an artificial intelligence that is designed to help mentor or peer a young person. We're not sure exactly what's going on because this is told in first-person perspective through the eyes of Klara, the protagonist. And she's designed with, programmed with specific functions in mind, and is aware of the world around her. And in particular, she is quite a bit more curious than a lot of the artificial friends in her store, where we begin the journey. However, there are things that I think a human would probably consider important, to describe the setting, the state of the world, what's going on. And there's references to, it doesn't seem like children are really seeing each other in person very much. And there was some sort of event in which it looks like certain people were maybe replaced by artificial intelligence in their jobs and were given a choice to do something else. And then other people were given an opportunity to, they call it lifted, but to be able to have a trade-off where they, let's say, had some kind of modifications or something, took advantage of some technology, and they were able to gain a higher level of social status. And these are the types of people that could afford an artificial friend, but it looks like they may perhaps trade something off with their health. And the whole journey of this book is Klara's search for, her human, her teenager that she's going to look after, her to fulfill her purpose, and that journey from the store, then finally, meeting some potential candidates, let's say, and then the journey kind of takes off from there, and you wonder, maybe she would have been better off in the store. So essentially, just know that the artificial friend Klara, our main protagonist, is looking for a teenager her purpose is to look after them and help them do better and achieve more and prepare themselves for life. And the journey takes a bit of a wild ride after that point. Let's just say that. So next, I want to talk a little bit about the character work. We have a handful of main characters that are the focal point, that we get a little bit more detail on. Klara, obviously the most. Josie, which is, you'll find very early on in the book, this is not really giving away too much. This is in the beginning. Josie is the teenager that ends up choosing Klara, and has to convince her mother, which is another main figure in the story, has to convince her that Klara is the right AF for her, even though there are some newer models coming out, but I guess Josie feels an affinity to Klara, and likewise. And there's Josie's friend Rick, some peers her age, a couple of neighbors, a couple of adults, but generally it's mostly centered around Klara and Josie, and Josie's close friend. I don't want to give away anything else about that. The character work is good. Again, this is told through the eyes of the protagonist, who is the artificial friend. And one of the things that I find interesting is Klara's journey in trying to understand friendship and understand love. That's a major theme throughout. And this gives the character work a unique style, I would say, because certain details are focused on more than perhaps, if this story was told by a human. There's certain things that are focused on, and then other things that are are missed, in the observation. And I just find there's a childlike sense of wonder to Klara as a character. And I will say that Josie, the character, is fairly believable. There is sometimes it feels like a little bit of a lack of depth to some of these characters, but I think that is purposeful because Klara only understands things to the degree. I mean, she was programmed a certain way and she's very observational and she's super curious and learns a lot, but there's still her view of the world has almost like a prime directive and things are focused around that. I would say, too, the son obviously is a main character in this, although it is a, silent character, but it plays a pivotal, I would almost say, a religious role in terms of Klara and her journey. And I should note that all of the artificial friends benefit, I guess they're solar charged, although in Klara's mind, it's nourishment, it's feeding her. And she has this idea that it will help everyone, obviously. So humans, say someone is not feeling well, they're sick, and you could help them by getting the sun special nourishment. So it makes the sun something something that's somewhat unattainable, but also I feel that it is a character in the story. Essentially, it's referenced so much. It's something that's there within your grasp. Like I said, unattainable, but it is always there and present in the story. So overall, the character work is good. It might not be for everybody, but I think given this type of story, it is really well done. Okay, finally, a word on the writing style, little positive negatives, and then we'll wrap this up with the star review. So, writing style is very unique. I am a fan of first person in general, and I really love, very ambiguous, drop you in, and you're kind of having to figure things out. The terminology's different. It's Earth, obviously. It seems near future. But Klara's the words that she uses to describe things make a lot of sense to her. But for the reader, sometimes you might be a little bit confused as to what's going on. I think most of the time it was successful. There were a few times that I think even still after reading, I'm a little bit confused as to whether I really got what she was talking about and describing or not. I'd like to go back and reread this one eventually, maybe, half a year from now, and see if I pick up some of those other details. I would say most of the time it lands. There are a few times where I felt a little bit confused. Also, because of being an artificial friend and being artificial intelligence, the relationships, I felt connection and I felt the emotion and passion, but there was a really sense of things being disjointed and compartmentalized, almost, like going through your file explorer or something, where there's, access to emotion, and then this is this. Now there's thinking and logic. And I think that was successful. I'm rating, like I said, these books based off of what I think the author was trying to achieve. However, I will say with a caveat, that kind of writing style, it might not be for everyone. Essentially, there's certain people, maybe it might be a little bit difficult to connect with that. I totally understand that. And again, the book was about 300 pages. I think if it was much longer, that could become tiresome. So overall, positives and negatives. The themes, and this is really where I'm going to shift the review a bit. What I think Klara and the Sun did incredibly well is get me to think. The themes that are brought up in this, it really makes you think about life and love. It makes you think about sentience, and with artificial intelligence as we're moving forward, how we put these emotions into things and we love them so much, and then so quickly they can be discarded because, as much as we progress, as human beings, sociologically and psychologically, there's still that primal human to connection. Human to human connection. Sorry, is one thing. Artificial intelligence perhaps will always be a device, something like that. And it really made you struggle at points because you're consuming the story through the eyes of the protagonist, who is the artificial intelligence, and they don't have the emotions to get stunned, or stung, sorry, about some of the things that you hear. But wow, it's tough. And this leads me to my negative. I understand why the book ended the way it did. it just didn't land really for me. I felt that the themes made me think so much, and the plot, I was with it most of the way. Towards the end of the book, there's a few things that seemed like a bit of a stretch. There's one big kind of what if thing, and I'm fine with ambiguous stuff like that. I really am. It's generally something I love, actually, which is why I was so disappointed personally with the ending of this, because it just felt like a letdown. It's like, if you're going to give me that kind of ending, you either really have to pull me this way or this way. You got to hit me hard one way or the other. When you're setting me up like that, and you really have to nail that. And for me, it was just, oh God, I hate to say that, it was like a wet fart ending. And everything was just so great. And then just for me, that's my opinion, it just didn't land the way that I wanted it to. Okay, so that being said, I am going to give Klara and the Sun a solid 3.5 out of 5. I know that sounds like I'm giving it a low score. Honestly, that is a good book. I really enjoyed it. I think the themes, if I was rating it off themes alone, we're looking at like 4.5 stars, almost 5 stars. But telling a story, I was there most of the way, and that ending for me personally really killed me. And I've seen a lot of other people this has clearly landed for all the way 5 out of 5 stars, but it just didn't do it for me that way. So I'm really interested to hear your comments on this. I know this is like award-winning book. I think it was a really good read. I think people might be concerned, thinking, how could you rate The Misfit Soldier higher than this? It, isn't as good literature maybe. The promise that The Misfit Soldier gave me in my last review, it delivered on what I expected. It delivered on what it seemed to set out to do. It delivered on pretty flawlessly. This, I felt there was just a bit of a stumbling block near the end. Doesn't mean it's a bad book. I really enjoyed it. I'd like to read it again, like I said, 6 months to a year from now, and see how I feel, see if my opinions have changed. And I would really love to know your thoughts in the comments. So thank you for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Leave a comment to let me know what I could do better next time. If you agree, disagree, if you think I'm totally way off, let me know. Think about subscribing just to get notified when I'm making new videos. I try to have at least one new video a week. And yeah, thanks again. I'll see you next time. And until then, let's get back to reading.